like the word haters. To me, it promotes this idea that, whatever you're doing nothing wrong. Everything is going perfectly fine. It's just that these people, they don't understand, or they're just jealous of what you have going. Destructive criticism still has a source. It's just a really poorly expressed viewpoint, but it's still a valid viewpoint. It often is just coupled together with the knee-jerk emotions that whoever it is may feel. Although it's not possible to please everyone, and neither should you strive to do that. If there's a viewpoint that's being brought up over and over again, perhaps there is some validity to it. Is there a part or a quality about yourself that you're just overlooking because you've grown too comfortable with yourself? I've grown to think this way because it's one of my personal fears, that the flaws that people don't like about me are something that's grown invisible to my own eyes. Here's the thing, if people are criticizing you, even if it's rather rudely, there has to be some sort of source from that criticism. And while it may be a problem with them, or it might be a misunderstanding, there's always a chance that it's probably something to do with you, yourself. What may appear to be a major flaw to a few might just happen to be a mild annoyance that others simply choose to overlook, choose not to comment on. Here's a question that comes to mind when it comes to criticism. Why should I change for other people? Why can't I just do whatever the I want? Why can't I just be unapologetically me, And here is my answer. The world doesn't owe you a living. Realistically, you carry as much value as the next person. What's so important about you that you're willing to put yourself over others? Even considering the feeling that you're the protagonist of your own life, you have to remember that that's the same thing over the next 7 billion people on this planet. And if you're not willing to listen to other people, then why should others listen to you? Now, I apologize if that came out rather harsh and degrading. That's the raw way of thinking that I've developed about self-worth. There's definitely room for your own personality and your own interests, and it's the diversity of different people that make this world so interesting and unpredictable. My point is that there's a limit to how much your personal qualities matter in the grand scheme of the world. And you should always remember that the people around you, they have the same depth that you do, no matter how shallow they might appear as a person. You matter as much as anyone else, which is a statement that can go in different ways. My final point for today is self-criticism. Now, I've kept diaries for the longest time, ever since primary school. And one thing that would keep on happening to me is that I would go back and read them, and I would think, holy shit, I was such a stupid fucking idiot. And I think that happens with all of us at some point in our lives. We look back at the year before and we realize how much of an idiot that we were behaving for the entire year, and we didn't even notice. I think there's a healthy attitude somewhere in that mentality that we should adopt for ourselves, to question ourselves, what are we doing wrong right now that we might not realize? Now, I won't claim to have the lowest self-esteem in the world, but I empathize with the idea. People with low self-esteem, they doubt themselves for not being good enough. And in an ideal world, they would seek to improve upon these flaws. But the dangerous side about having low self-esteem is the lack of self-confidence. You might not believe in yourself to have the potential to do things that you actually can. And if you fall back on self-deprecation, you would end up forming undeserving, exaggerated, or outright false criticisms about yourself that make you lose any motivation to improve on yourself in the first place. Does that mean that we shouldn't self-criticize at all? I don't think so. I think there's certainly a way to achieve successful self-criticism, and this is how I imagine getting there. To achieve successful self-criticism is to break down all those do not enter barriers we board up in our minds, and to drill through the emotional full stops that we give ourselves. And just like receiving criticism, to get to as pure of an objective viewpoint as possible, separated from our emotions to the best of our ability. And also, like receiving criticism, it takes a lot of willpower and energy to do that. But I believe that if you can both rationalize and be intimately honest with yourself, you'll have an incredibly effective and helpful reflection to fall back on. But of course, at the end of the day, all things considered, it's easier said than done. I'm still struggling with this myself. I'm not always in the right logical mindset. I'm not always removing my emotions to the best that I can. But still, I want to strive to that objectiveness as much as possible. All in all, it's a real juggling act between self-confidence, self-awareness, and the acceptance of personal critique. It is a really hard act to maintain, but hey, nobody's perfect.